colleagues, in welcoming you warmly to this beautiful city of Mombasa. And indeed, it is my hope that you will also take time to experience the ambience, comfort, tranquility, and the warmth of the people of this great city while you are here. So to get to the point, ladies and gentlemen, we convene here today to reaffirm our shared commitment to combat emerging transnational organized crimes such as terrorism, corruption, drug trafficking, money laundering, counterfeiting and smuggling, and offenses against wildlife, and also our cultural property. But allow me, before we dwell into these three substantive reflections, the subject of this conference, let me contextualize the reality that we are all confronted with. Indeed, with the dawn of the new millennium, crime as we knew it has dramatically changed and expanded into new frontiers. Less than 2 decades ago, cybercrime was a niche concern. Cryptocurrency was still an abstract concept, and the manipulation of digital resources to facilitate or obscure real-world crimes was relatively rare. Today, 2022, criminals and their networks are utilizing advances in our technology and our increased interconnectivity to advance their agenda. At both local and international stages, our laws and justice processes are playing catch-up in the face of emerging crimes and also expansion of traditional crimes into new frontiers. And I believe that this is a realization that informs this conference that you hold here today. These shifts are a result of globalization and technology, and we have all felt the ripple effects of change, and that is why the theme, I believe, of this 4th edition is most apt and timely. I am informed that the objective of this week's conference was to review effective mechanisms for responding to emerging crimes and transnational organized crimes across the African continent. Premised on a framework of shared learning, the theme invites all of us to reflect on the need for innovation in our strategies, interventions, as well as our respective operations. But more importantly, the theme also demands of us to rededicate ourselves to our global commitments to combat transnational organized crime, and to do so collectively, in a collaborative manner, but to also do so innovatively and in a manner that nonetheless always upholds our fundamental values. And so the key question we should ask ourselves is why nations should invest their efforts and resources in this endeavor. Available estimates by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime indicate that annually illicit revenues and proceeds of crime equal more than $2 trillion globally. Africa itself loses roughly $88.8 billion in illegal financial flows each year, which is equivalent to 3.7% of our continent's GDP. In effect, our continent loses more wealth each year than it gains, by at least $40 billion. This empirical evidence demonstrates clearly why the war against corruption and indeed transnational organized crime is a worthy investment for our governments. The resources Africa is losing would otherwise greatly benefit our development agenda and enable us to create an even more glorious future for our citizens. So what we have seen as our success and what anchors us in this war, I think firstly, it is a deliberate adoption of a multi-agency approach which we have done here in Kenya. Transnational crimes cannot be tackled without cross-institutional as well as cross-border cooperation. Transnational organized crime networks continue to exploit legitimate public institutions established to support financial and business services. Preventing and containing transnational organized crime therefore demands a concentrated cooperative effort by all actors in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and asset recovery segments of the justice chain. And it is critical that we maintain open dialogue, both formal and informal, and continue working in close partnership. And the Kenyan government is and will remain a committed as well as an active participant in these engagements. As a region, we have also adopted bilateral and multilateral arrangements with the objective of mutually investigating and prosecuting emerging transnational crime. To facilitate this, criminal justice systems across the region must adopt a proactive approach to identifying, tracing, freezing, as well as confiscating funds and proceeds of crime, and to remove the financial incentive and monetary benefits of crime. This will ensure our success. So through you, Bwana Chairman, I want to laud the efforts made by the East African Association of Prosecutors to expand the scope of membership and cooperation to the wider East African region in recognition of a need to strengthen regional cooperation in the investigation and prosecutions of transnational organized crime. These structures have similarly been replicated amongst investigative, intelligence, and asset recovery agencies whose deliberate cooperative framework begins in country before expanding in the region. The next point is that we recognize that due to the complex and constantly evolving nature of crime, continuous education and training are ancillary to boosting and bolstering our areas of expertise and knowledge in the identification and prevention of criminal activity. Our ability to deliver justice is not evolving, unfortunately, as quickly as the criminal's capacity to evade justice, and this we have seen. It is in line with this objective that Kenya has continuously enhanced our budgetary allocation to criminal justice agencies like the Office of the Public Prosecutor, and our investments in this sector have allowed for the establishment of training facilities such as the ODPP Prosecution and Training Institute, which provides continuous training for prosecutors and other criminal justice actors. The Institute also serves as an institution for legal development and resource building, and a key element for the reform and improvement of our prosecutorial practices within the East African region and also Africa at large. A further effective strategy has involved the use of institutional as well as legislative reform actions to transform the criminal justice sector. This includes strengthening of consultative platforms such as the National Council on the Administration of Justice, whose core purpose is to ensure a coordinated, efficient, and effective approach in the administration of justice. In addition, governance reforms targeted at key public sector institutions have also been identified as a critical multiplier. Countries with weak governance systems have experienced increased incidences of corrupt officials turning a blind eye to transnational organized crime activity. Kenya has thus identified corruption as a critical national security threat, and required is continuous monitoring and reporting as part of the national security architecture. Additional considerations that are significant in our endeavors include cooperation in the area of border security and the deliberate effort to enhance public awareness on transnational crime as a national security threat in order for us to be able to enlist our citizens' participation. Ladies and gentlemen, these efforts would be greatly enhanced if implemented through joint regional platforms. Noting the evolving nature of transnational crime, a regional approach to planning, budgeting, and execution of jointly agreed measures would significantly improve the efficiency of our response actions. We need to continuously interrogate our laws to ensure that they are fit for purpose and capable of cross-country implementation. And I'm glad that this conference has provided an avenue to discuss these matters and to ensure that criminals do not use our borders as a shield against justice and accountability. Within our own East African community, harmonization of laws relating to illicit financial flows have thus far facilitated the surrender of seized gold here in Kenya back to Tanzania, to mention but just one example. Such measures will enhance the East African region's strategy for combating money laundering, countering terrorism financing, and countering the proliferation of cross-border crimes. Our cooperation and collaboration with each other should lead to increased mutual legal assistance and extradition requests, as well as enhanced formal and informal channels of communication for efficient and effective investigation and prosecution of transnational organized crimes. Additionally, sharing of information and intelligence among law enforcement agencies should also be strengthened through the establishment of a regional database. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I want to once again thank the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I want to thank the Indian Ocean Prosecutors, the East African Association of Prosecutors, for graciously hosting this conference. May this assembly be one that leads all of us to build a long-term strategy for dismantling criminal enterprise and create a platform for a crime-free future. And I conclude by saying, ladies and gentlemen, that any system is as good as the people who run it. And as we look at ourselves, we must also look at ourselves from a point of integrity. Because yes, we are prosecutors, we are magistrates, we are presidents, but do we do as we say, or do we say and do and close our eyes when it's... Anyways, I don't want to go there. You know what I'm trying to say. We can only be as good as we are. So mine is to pray that we become people of integrity. Because without integrity, you cannot uphold a criminal justice system. Without integrity in prosecutor's office, you cannot deal with the issue of corruption. Without integrity in our courts, without integrity in our government officials and civil servants and politicians, you will not succeed in this battle. Integrity is the key. And we need to be able to look at ourselves straight in the eye. You know, you are independent, but I'm sure you should be able to tell this man if you think he is corrupt. Mwambie. Yeah. You know me, if I say, he'll say I'm interfering in his office. But your colleagues can tell you. You see? And then judges also look at each other in the eye. You know each other. You know what you do. Yeah? Don't hide behind your independence. You know, talk to each other. That's part of learning. If you know your colleague is also not following the right path, it's your responsibility to point them out. Anyway, I wish you all the very best. I know you will succeed in your endeavors, and may this assembly be one that leads us to build together a long-term strategy, as I said, on how we shall work together, how we shall succeed in this battle together. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not only important, but it is a must if our continent of Africa is to achieve sustainable and equitable social economic development, and indeed to truly join the league of developed nations with an honest, transparent